In this video, we will discover the forbidden history of how, why, and by whom the Pyramids and Sphinx were first created. The information comes from a book called The Voyagers, Part 2, The Secrets of Amenti. It was written by a woman named Arhayas. She is a speaker for the Emerald Order and a priestess of She has full incarnational memory since birth. And since she was a young child, she had regular alien contact and had been trained by the priests of to become a messenger of the CDT plates, which are 12 holographic discs that contain the full, authentic, and forbidden history of humanity. Here you will see how, why, and by whom the Pyramids and Sphinx were first constructed. But first, it's important that you know that there were two types of Anunnaki. There were the good Anunnaki, who served the law of one, and who were part of the Syrian Council. Then there were the bad Anunnaki, who wanted to dominate the human race and take control of the earth. And they were called the Templar Anunnaki Resistance. It all started after the Lemurian War, when the Ark of the Covenant of Pleiador was relocated to Egypt, around 51,700 years ago. At that time, the Egyptian culture prospered, and Egypt became a cultural center for the Anu Melchizedek, the Hebrews, and the Sarah's Egyptians. These races became the guardians of the Ark of the Covenant. The Atlantean culture also prospered during that time, and their generator crystals were once again restored into operation after they had been put out of service 52,000 years ago during the Lemurian cataclysm. During this time of reconstruction, the generator crystals were once again charged with multidimensional frequencies that came from the Ark of the Covenant that was stored in Egypt. But sadly, through this period of rebuilding and expansion, the negative influence of the Templar Anunnaki continued to spread, thus creating growing conflicts between the races that were serving the law of one and those that were falling under the Anunnaki Templars' negative influence. The Templar Anu were met with resistance in Egypt, so they relocated to Atlantis, where they had a stronger hold over the cultural environment. The Templar Anunnaki began to dominate the races of the Atlantean culture and made arrangements to conquer the lands of the inner earth by passing through the portals in Egypt. They planned to use the generator crystals to break through the electromagnetic barrier that protected the portals. Highly concerned for the welfare of the inner earth, the Anunnaki of the Syrian Council made a petition to the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds and asked for permission to make a show of strength on Earth. And they offered protection to the Earth's races against the Templar Anunnaki resistance. The primary target for the Templar Anu was Egypt. So around 48,000 years ago, the Syrian Council permitted their Anunnaki members to make a direct show of power in Egypt and Atlantis to intimidate the rising resistance. The Anunnaki of the Syrian Council then started making regular visits to Earth and were reasserting the influence of the Law of One. And they drove many Templar Anu out of Egypt. In Egypt and several other locations around the planet, the Syrian Council Anunnaki started to build bases of operation over the portals of the inner earth. You might be interested to find out that the pyramid structure was a trademark of the Anunnaki architecture and scientific achievements. But the first grand construction that they made in Egypt was the original Sphinx, which covered the main portal passage to the inner earth and linked directly to the passage that led to the Ark of the Covenant. The Sphinx was designed following the Anunnaki heritage by having the head of an Anunnaki warrior over the body of a lion. The lion's body was a symbolic tribute to a race of beings called the Leonines. They were from the harmonic universe, too. They were revered as godlike beings by the early Anunnaki civilizations and were instrumental in laying the early foundations of their culture. The Anunnaki of the Syrian Council were proud of their affiliation with the Leonine race, and the symbolic design of the Sphinx was intended to prove to the Anunnaki resistance that they were alone in their conquest, and that their Leonine ancestral allies stood behind the Anunnaki of the Syrian Council. So the Sphinx was constructed to serve as a fortification for the inner earth portal, but it was also used as a safe house and a library for the storage of sacred records and texts. It also served the purpose of housing the great energy transmitting machines that were charged with UHF fifth dimensional energy that they could receive from the Ark of the Covenant. The true purpose of the Ark of the Covenant was lost in time, but during the original construction of the Sphinx, the truth was well known. It was a portal bridge that led to the sphere of Amenti. And the Anunnaki had particular objects that were used as tools that could draw, hold, and transmit the energy that was drawn through the Ark of the Covenant from the blue flame of Amenti. Both the large and small tools to do this were designed in the shape of the Ankh. They allowed high energy frequencies to be synthesized, following the natural laws of interdimensional energy mechanics. The Ankhs were used to create the Sphinx, various pyramids, and many other structures. They provided the power to reverse gravitational pull and directly affected the particle makeup and morphogenetic fields of Earth's matter substance. So they served as major construction tools, but were also weather modulators, healing tools, and were used as interdimensional transit devices. The original Sphinx also served as a protective fortress in which these devices could be stored and kept out of the reach of the Templar Anunnaki resistance. The other major construction was the Great Pyramid. The primary purpose of the Great Pyramid was to fortify the portal passage leading to the Ark of the Covenant beneath the Sphinx. But it also served as an interdimensional teleportation center. The original pyramid was designed as a harmonic resonance chamber through which multidimensional frequency bands could be pulled in from deep space and from the planetary core of Sirius B. They were able to do this by using a great Ankh that was positioned underneath the crystalline capstone of the Grand Pyramid. And through the power of the Ankh, a tremendous amount of UHF energy was pulled into focus within the capstone of the pyramid, then was projected downward through the structure into the second dimensional frequency bands. You should know that the Grand Pyramid is situated upon Earth's geographical center point. It is on the energy vortex that represents the heart chakra of Earth's planetary bioenergetic system. This vortex allowed energy exchange to take place between Earth and the fourth dimensional frequency bands. This was done by creating a harmonic resonance chamber within the interdimensional vortex, where the D2 overtones of harmonic universe 1 could be combined with the D4 overtones of harmonic universe 2, thus forming an interdimensional resonant tone through which visiting crafts traveling from other star systems could enter directly and leap through time, making transit on Earth almost instantaneous. Therefore, the Great Pyramid permitted the immediate intervention of the Syrian Council and the Guardian Alliance fleets, in case the Ark of the Covenant would come under an Anunnaki resistance attack. Though, while the pyramid was operational, it served as the greatest deterrent to any resistance attacks. So it was used as an active interstellar teleportation station from the time of its construction, about 48,500 years ago, until around 30,000 years ago, when a huge explosion in Atlantis caused Earth to slightly tilt on its axis. This knocked the pyramid's vortex out of its previous alignments. And following this event, transit from other star systems required much more time and resources to reach Earth. So visitation to Earth became much less frequent. Throughout the height of its operation, the Great Pyramid was also used as an ascension chamber for the select few who possessed the required DNA assembly, and for the ones who had the favor of the Elohim. If the Elohim approved and opened the passageway, these individuals were allowed passage through the Ark of the Covenant and were able to ascend to Tara through the Sphere Elementi. The pyramid was also used as a training school for the initiates of the Elohim Ascension Program. It was also used for healing, accelerating genetic assembly, and for passage into the inner Earth's portals beneath the Sphinx. The pyramid was always kept under tight security by the resident Anunnaki of the Syrian Council. But sadly, the Templar Anunnaki resistance grew progressively more and more hostile, and many relocated to Atlantis, which was becoming their stronghold. Angered that they were not permitted to enter the inner Earth or use the Ark of the Covenant, the Templar Anu advanced with their plan to conquer the inner Earth territories by using the Atlantean crystal generators to tear down the electromagnetic barriers that secured the inner Earth. They began their conquest from the continent of Atlantis, but quickly discovered that the shields of the inner Earth's portals could not be easily destroyed. Though at one moment they managed to force excessive power through one of their main generator crystals, and the crystal unit exploded with more than 10 times the force of an atomic bomb. It also caused several other small generators to explode. This ripped apart the continent of Atlantis and sent the majority of its land masses under the sea. So you see, this is the true reason of the fall of Atlantis and the forbidden history behind the Pyramids and Sphinx. In the next episode, we will find out exactly what happened in Atlantis. And we will learn what the Ark of the Covenant of Pleiador truly was. And last but not least, we will discover the secrets of Amenti. And you will see why it is so important that we remember. In the description below, you can find the link to the official website of Ashayana Dhyan. There you will be able to get this incredible book of forbidden knowledge.